Forward. Florence Scovel-Shinn taught metaphysics in New York for many years. Her meetings were well attended, and in that way, she was the means of bringing the message to a considerable number of people. Her books have had a wide circulation, not only in America, but abroad. They seem to have a knack of finding their way to remote and unexpected places in Europe and other parts of the world. Now and again, we meet someone who came into truth through finding a Florence Shinn book in a most improbable location. One secret of her success was that she was always herself, colloquial, informal, literary, conventional, or impressive. For this reason, she appealed to thousands who would not have taken the spiritual message through the more conservative and dignified forms, or had been willing to read, at least in the beginning, the standard metaphysical books. She herself was very spiritual, although this was usually hidden behind a matter-of-fact and carefree treatment of her subject. The technical or academic approach was not for her. She taught by familiar, practical, and everyday examples. She had been by profession an artist and book illustrator before becoming a truth teacher, and belonged to an old Philadelphia family. She left a collection of notes and memoranda, which has been made into the present book. May it have a wide circulation. Emmett Fox. Chapter 1. Weapons ye know not of. I have weapons ye know not of. I have ways ye know not of. I have channels ye know not of. Mysterious weapons, mysterious ways, mysterious channels. For God works in mysterious ways, his wonders to perform. The trouble with most people is that they want to know the way and the channels beforehand. They want to tell Supreme Intelligence just how their prayers should be answered. They do not trust the wisdom and ingenuity of God. They pray, giving infinite intelligence definite directions how to work, thereby limiting the Holy One of Israel. Jesus Christ said, "When ye pray, believe ye have it." What could be more simple or direct? Become as a child if you would enter the kingdom. We might paraphrase the scriptures and say, have the expectancy of a little child, and your prayers will be answered. A child waits with joyful expectancy for his toys at Christmas. I give the illustration of the little boy who asked for a drum for Christmas. The child does not lie awake at night, agonizing over his drum, wondering whether he will get it. He goes to bed and sleeps like a top. He jumps out of bed in the morning, ready for the happy day before him. He looks with wonder at that which is before him. The grown-up person spends sleepless nights agonizing over his problems. Instead of a drum, he has spoken for a large sum of money. He can't think of any way it can come, and will it come on time? He will tell you he has perfect faith in God, but he would like to know more about the channel and how it is to be done. The answer comes, I have weapons ye know not of. My ways are ingenious, my methods are sure. Trust in me, commit your ways unto me. Committing your ways unto the Lord seems very difficult to most people. It means, of course, to follow intuition. For intuition is the magic path, the beeline to your demonstration. Intuition is a spiritual faculty above the intellect. It is the still, small voice, commonly called a hunch, which says, "This is the way, walk ye in it." I refer to intuition very often, for it is the most important part of spiritual development. It is divine guidance. It is the God within. It is the eye which watches over Israel. It responds not to very small things, but to the events. It is very difficult for a person who has always followed the reasoning mind to suddenly follow intuition, especially people who have what they call regular habits. They are accustomed to doing the same thing every day at the same time. Meals like clockwork. They get up at a certain time and go to bed at a certain time. Many people use following the superconscious, we attain the heights. In the intuition are pictures of eternal youth and eternal life, where death itself is uncommon. Suppress the subconscious mind with a picture of eternal youth and eternal life. The subconscious, being simply power without direction, carries out the idea, and we have our bodies transmuted into the body which can never die. We see this idea partly expressed in the moving picture, The Lost Horizon. Shangri-La was a symbolic picture of the world of the wondrous, where all conditions are perfect. There is a spiritual prototype of your body and affairs. I call it the divine design. This divine design is a perfect image of the conscious mind. Most people are fond of expressing the divine idea of their bodies and affairs. They extend the content pictures of disease, the only picture of death upon the subconscious, and it is kept in the back of orders. Now we thorough knowledge. Comes the issues of life. My ways are ways of pleasantness. We should all build up in consciousness a picture of peace, harmony, and beauty, and someday it will push itself into visibility. The divine idea of your life often flashes across your consciousness as something too good to be true. Very few people fulfill their destinies. Destiny means the place you are destined to fill. We are fully equipped for the divine plan of our lives. We are more than equal to every situation. If we could get the realization back of these words, doors would fly open and channels be cleared. We could actually hear the hum of divine activity, for we would be linked with infinite intelligence, which knows no defeat. Opportunities would come to us from unexpected quarters. Divine activity would operate in and through all our affairs, and the divine idea would come to pass. God is love, but God is law. If ye love me, keep my commandments or laws. Dr. Ernest Wilson told me that his first knowledge of truth came through reading Emerson's Concentration. Concentration means loving absorption. We see children lovingly absorbed in their play. We can only be a success in a line which interests us greatly. Great inventors are never bored with their work, or they would never bring forth great inventions. Never try to force a child to be something he does not want to be. You will only prove a failure. The first start towards success is to be glad you are yourself. So many people are bored by themselves. They have no self-reliance and are always wishing they were with someone else. When I was in London, I saw a man on the street selling a new song. It was called, "I'm Tickled to Death, I'm Me." I thought that was a wonderful idea. Start out by being glad you are yourself. Then you can expand rapidly into the divine plan of your life, where you fulfill your destiny. You may be sure that the divine plan of your life will give you perfect satisfaction. You will no longer envy anyone. People often become impatient and discouraged. I was inspired by reading in the paper about Omaha, the famous racehorse. The article said, Omaha has to run a mile before he gets into a stride. There are, no doubt, a lot of Omahas in the world, but they can get into their spiritual stride and win the race in the twinkling of an eye. Delight thyself also in the Lord, and he shall give thee the desires of thine heart. Delight thyself in the law, and it will give to thee the desires of thine heart. Delighting yourself in the law means to enjoy making a demonstration. To enjoy trusting God means to be happy following your intuitive leads. Most people say, "Oh dear, I've got to demonstrate money again." Or, "Oh dear, my hunches make me so nervous, I haven't the nerve to follow them." People enjoy playing golf and tennis. Why can't we enjoy the game of life? It is because we are playing with unseen forces. With golf or tennis, they have balls they can see, and a goal which is visible to the naked eye. But how much more important is this game of life? The goal is the divine plan of your life, where all conditions are permanently perfect. In all the ways acknowledge him, and he will make plain thy paths. Every moment we can link with intuition will give us as definite a lead as a signpost. So many people are leading such complicated lives because they are trying to think things out instead of intuiting the way out. I know a woman who says she has a thorough knowledge of truth and its application, but the minute she has a problem, she reasons and weighs and measures the situation. It is never solved. Intuition flies out of the window when reason comes to the door. Intuition is a spiritual faculty, the superconscious, that never explains itself. There came a voice before me saying, "This is the way, walk ye in it." Someone asked me if the reasoning mind was ever any good. The reasoning mind must be redeemed. Trust in spiritual law, and it will be given you. Your part is to be a good receiver. Prepare for your blessing. Rejoice and give thanks, and it will come to pass. I have weapons ye know not of. I have ways which will astound you. This ends chapter 1. Chapter 2. I give unto you power. Luke 10:19. God's gift to man is power and dominion over all created things, his mind, his body, and affairs. All unhappiness comes from lack of power. Man imagines himself weak and the victim of circumstances, claiming the conditions over which he had no control caused his defeat. Man by himself is indeed a victim of circumstances, but linked with God power, all things are possible. Through a knowledge of metaphysics, we are discovering how this can be done. By your word, you can contact this power. Then miraculously, every burden is lifted and every battle is won. Life and death are in the power of the tongue. Watch your words with all diligence. You are continually reaping the fruits of your words, and he that overcometh, and keepeth my works to the end, to him will I give power and dominion over the nations. Overcoming means to conquer all doubts, fears, and negative vibrations. One man with perfect peace and perfect poise, filled with love and goodwill, could dissolve all negative vibrations. They would melt away like snow under the sun. Jesus Christ said, "All power is given unto me to bring heaven upon earth. Let us give thanks that this is now coming to pass. For evil is unreal and leaves no stain." This God power is within you, your subconscious mind. It is the realm of inspiration, revelation, and illumination. It is the realm of miracles and wonders. Quick and seemingly impossible changes take place for your good. A door opens where there were no doors. Supply appears from hidden and unexpected channels, for God has weapons you know not of. To work with God power, you must give it right of way and still the reasoning mind. The instant you ask, infinite intelligence knows the way of fulfillment. Man's part is to rejoice and give thanks and act his faith. A very well-known woman in England told of this experience. She was asking with great feeling for a realization of God. These words came to her, "Act as though I were, and I am." It is exactly what I say over and over again. Only active faith impresses the subconscious. And unless you impress the subconscious, there are no results. I will now give you an example to show you just how the law works. A woman came to me whose heart's desire was her right marriage and happy home. She was very fond of a certain man, but he was a most difficult person. After having shown her every attention and devotion, he suddenly changed and dropped out of her life. She was unhappy, resentful, and discouraged. I said, now this is the time to prepare for your happy home. Buy little things for it as if you hadn't a minute to spare. She became quite interested in shopping for her happy home when all appearances were against it. Now, I said, you'll have to perfect yourself on the situation and become immune to all resentment and unhappiness. I gave her this statement. I am now immune to all hurt and resentment. My poise is built upon a rock, the Christ within. I said, when you are immune to all hurt and resentment, this man will be given you, or his equivalent. It took many months, when one evening she came to see me and said, I have only the kindest and most friendly feelings for this man. If he isn't the divine selection, I would be happy without him. Not long after, she happened to meet the man. He was so sorry for the way he had acted. He begged her to forgive him. Not long after, they were married. The woman's enemies were hurt and resentment. They are indeed serpents and scorpions. Nothing could by any means hurt her. Think what that means, to have a life free from all unhappy experiences. It is done through making unconscious contact with God's power every instant. Many times in the Bible, the word power is mentioned. Thou shalt remember the Lord thy God, for it is he that giveth thee power to get wealth. A person with a rich consciousness attracts riches. A person with a poor consciousness attracts poverty. I've seen before this truth rise out of lack and limitation, by linking with the God power within, not depending on the external, trusting in God is an irresistible power. Where this supremely diligence knows the ways of fulfillment. Trust in me and I will bring it to pass. All our knowledge of truth will bring us to know that God is the one power, one presence, one plan. When you have a fixed idea that there is only one power in the universe, God power, all appearances of uniqueness is given on your wall. In scripture, you must acknowledge only one power. Evil comes from man's own imaginings. When you are all power of evil, is powerless. I will give you an example which shows the working of the law. I was in a restaurant with a friend who spilled something on her dress. She was sure it would leave a stain. I said, we'll give it a treatment. I made the statement, evil is unreal and leaves no stain. I said, now don't look, leave it to infinite intelligence. In about an hour, we took a look, and there was not the slightest stain. What is true of a little thing is true of a big thing. You can use this statement for past misfortune or mistakes, and somehow or other, under grace, the effects will disappear. They will leave no stain. Many people are using personal power instead of God power, which always brings unhappy reaction. Personal power means forcing personal will. I will give the example of a woman I knew a long time ago. She married a man who worked on a newspaper drawing a comic strip. His drawings demanded a knowledge of slang, which he used on every occasion. She decided he should cultivate his mind and read the classics. He moved to a college town so that he could go to college. She insisted upon his going to college. He resisted a little at first, then he grew to like it. Soon he was steeped in the classics. He wouldn't talk anything but Plato and Aristotle. He wanted to cook the way they used to, and simple food they did. Unlike it. After that, he never tried to change it. The only person who changed is yourself. All the conditions around you will change. People will change. When you are undisturbed by a situation, it falls away in its own way. Your mind is outraged by the sum total of your subconscious beliefs. Wherever you go, its conditions will change. I am strong in the Lord and the power of his might. I am backed by unnumbered hosts of power. immediate supply. If you are too close to the situation, if you are filled with doubts and fears, go to a practitioner for help, someone to see clearly for you. A man told me while at a truth center at Pittsburgh, he heard people talking about me and he said, "Who in heck is Florence Shin?" Someone replied, "Oh, she wrote The Game of Life. If you write to her, she'll get you a miracle." He said he promptly wrote to me and got a demonstration. Jesus Christ said, "When two of you agree, it shall be done." Do not hesitate to ask for help if you cannot see clearly you're good. Jesus Christ saw clearly for the people he healed. He did not tell them to heal themselves. Of course, you can reach a state where you do not need any help, when you have the fixed idea that God's power is the only power, and that God's plan is the only plan. We cannot take blessings from infinite intelligence. They must be given us. Man's part is to be a grateful receiver. Behold, I give unto you power to tread on serpents and scorpions, and over all the power of the enemy. And nothing shall by any means hurt you. Thou madest him to have dominion over the works of thy hands, and hath put all things under his feet. All sheep and oxen, yea, and the beasts of the fields. This is God's idea of man, but man's idea of himself is one of limitation and failure. It is only in a big moment that man seems to rise to his power and dominion. It isn't until we face a situation of lack that we suddenly express the power which is already within us. I have known people who are usually nervous and become poised and powerful when confronted by their situation. It's their own as well. They have no need to fight, standing still, to become used to the Lord. People often ask, what does it mean to stand still? Standing at all. Standing still means to keep your poise. I said to a man who was standing still once, to me, and it will be given you. Following the magic path of intuition, you escape all complications and friction, and make a beeline to your demonstration. Remember, we are told not to despise the day of small things. It is a great mistake to think that anything is unimportant. I was going to a shop to buy 2 articles. In my vicinity are 2 shops, an expensive one, and one where all the things are a little cheaper. But the articles are exactly the same. The reasoning mind said, go to the cheaper place. But intuition said, go to the expensive place. Of course, I followed that magic path. I told the clerk what I wanted. He said, the 2 articles are today sold for the price of one, because they are advertising one of the products. So intuition led me to the right place and price. The difference in price was only about 50 cents. But intuition always looks after our interests. If I had been trying to get something cheap, I would have gone to the other shop and paid twice as much. Learn from the little things, and you will be ready to handle the big things. Studying closely the scriptures, we find God's gift to man is power. The things and conditions automatically follow. God gives man power to get well. He gives man power over the elements. He gives man power to heal sickness and to cast out devils. They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings and eagles. They shall run and not be weary, and shall walk and not faint. Let us realize that this invincible power is within reach of all. Whosoever calleth on the name of the Lord shall be delivered. So we find the word links man with omnipotence. This supreme intelligence is more than equal to lifting every burden and fighting every battle. All power is given unto me to bring my heaven upon my earth. This ends chapter 2. Chapter 3. Be strong, fear not. Be strong, fear not. Fear is man's only adversary. You face defeat whenever you are fearful. Fear of lack, fear of failure, fear of loss, fear of personality, fear of criticism. Fear robs you of all power, for you have lost your contact with the universal powerhouse. Why are ye fearful, O ye of little faith? Fear is inverted faith. It is faith turned upside down. When you are fearful, you begin to attract the thing you fear. You are magnetizing it. You are hypnotized by the race thought when you are afraid. Daniel was undisturbed because he knew his God was stronger than the lions. His God made the lions as harmless as kittens. So walk up to your lion as quickly as possible and see for yourself. Perhaps all your life you've been running away from some particular lion. It has made your life miserable and your hair gray. A hairdresser once told me that she knew a woman whose gray hair returned to its natural color when she stopped worrying. A woman said to me during an interview, "I'm not a bit fearful, but I worry a lot." Fear and worry are twins and are the same thing. If you were fearless, your worry cells would be dried up. Why are ye worried, O ye of little faith? I think the most prevalent fear is the fear of loss. Perhaps you have everything that life can give, but in creeps the old lion of apprehension. You hear him growling. It's too good to be true. It can't last. If he gets your attention, you may well worry. Many people have lost what they prized most dearly in life. That is because invariably they fear loss. The only weapon you can use against the lions is your word. Your word is your wand filled with magic and power. You wave your wand over your lion and transmute him into a kitten. But the lion will remain a lion unless you walk up to him. You may well ask, how do we walk up to the lions? Moses said unto his people, "Fear not, stand still, and see the salvation of the Lord, which he did in the shores of Egypt, when the Egyptians were They shall see it there, and no more forever. The Lord shall fight with you, and they shall give you peace. What a wondrous image! Intelligence knows who it comes. Intelligence knows where it supplies whatever plan. Just trust it. Our boys, our delight. So much already. They run away because they face situations. Of course, situations run out. The Lord is my light and salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Whom shall I be afraid? That same Zion is what rules trembling in cities. There shall so be no indignation. The light of Christ will not be in the heart of man. For the Lord is his light and his salvation. I will not be enemies on either side. God will see no one against his thoughts. Thus, peace, silence, avoidance, This can be any situation in your life is most surprised to find. Don't tell me I can. Imagine this. Many situations must stand under the truth. Many is the situation is, say, the Lord is my light and salvation. Whom shall I fear? Jesus Christ was the greatest of metaphysicians and gave us definite rules for controlling conditions through word and thought. Thou hast to make me wiser than mine enemies. First of all, you must be wiser than your enemy thoughts, the army of the aliens. You must answer every negative thought with a word of authority. The army of the aliens will chant, business is dull and money is scarce. Immediately you reply, my supply comes from God and now appears like mushrooms overnight. There are no hard times. You have to keep the sun for quite a while, like the song. yourself to disappear, because you do not give it your attention. You have starved the aliens out. Small microwave thoughts are not given any attention and activate for food. The lion draws his fierceness from your fear. His roar is in the tremors of your heart. He stands still like a dog. His heavy pushing through the rush of monsters ascending and falling to the ground. His bread by the sweat of the brow, instead of being divinely provided for. Jesus Christ's message was to bring people back into the fourth dimension, the Garden of Eden consciousness. In the 14th chapter of John, we find the summing up of all his teachings. He called it the Gospel, which means good tidings. With amazing simplicity and directness, he told the people that if they asked, believing, they would receive, attributing the power always to the Father within. God is the giver, man the receiver. This supreme intelligence supplies man with all that he desires or requires. This was certainly not one of the most remarkable miracles was the healing of man born blind and broken. The opponents of Jesus questioned man, hoping to find something against him. The blind only said, "What can I do? Or else I was blind, now I can see." This is an obvious evidence of himself. Whereas I was blind, now I can see. What look like? Perhaps I'm blind too. Blind to opportunities, blind to opportunities, blind to weaknesses, wasting defense for enemies. When you are awake, it's no good to regarding the lessons of the person and situation. The obstacles and stepping stones. One with God can become invincible. This is a very powerful statement. God's invincible power sweeps all before it. I ride the waves into my promised land. Riding the waves, they take you to your destination, free from the undertow of negative thinking, which will pull you down. Your thoughts and desires are always taking you somewhere. Prentice Mulford said, "The persistent purpose, that strong desire, that never-ceasing longing, is a seed in the mind. It is rooted there, it is alive, and never stops growing." There is a wonderful law involved in it. This law, when known, followed out and trusted, leads every individual to mighty and beautiful events. The law followed with our eyes open leads to more and more happiness in life, but followed blindly with our eyes shut leads to misery. This means that desire is a tremendous vibratory force and must be rightly directed. Take this statement. I only desire that which infinite intelligence desires through me. I claim that which is mine by divine right, and under grace is a perfect way. You will then cease desiring the wrong things, and the right desires will take their place. Your dreary desires are answered drearily. Your impatient desires are long delayed or violently fulfilled. It is important never to lose sight of this. Many unhappy situations have been brought about through dreary or impatient desires. I will give you an example of a woman who was married to a man who wanted her to go somewhere with him every evening. It wore her out, and night after night, she wished impatiently that she could stay at home and read a book. The desire was so strong, it commenced to bite. Her husband went off with another woman. She lost him and his support, but she had time to stay home and read a book. Nothing has ever come uninvited into her mind. At this rifle, there's also some interesting ideas on work. He said, to succeed like other two, you are unpenetrated by any profession. Simply, persistently stay alive as an aim. Let's not attain all effort toward the thing of that creation. The moment it becomes hard work, we're not advancing. As I look back at my experiences in the art world, I see how true this is. But the humanity of fine art is not all of artists and successful artists are called the Eight in contemporary art. Not one of them was ever known to work hard. They never drew from the antique. They never did anything in an academic way. They simply expressed themselves. They painted and drew because they loved it, for the fun of it. They tell an amusing story of one of them who became a very well-known landscape artist. The one got shown in their city, one of the colonies, no city. Tasted over much trouble for the city. Until the end, found a wonderful line. It's a long pictures. Line. Joab and God painted campaigns. He painted for fun. He didn't care whether people liked his pictures or not. Whereas I was blind, now I can see. My right work, my perfect self-expression. Whereas I was blind, now I can see clearly and distinctly the divine plan of my life. Whereas I was blind, now I can see that God's power is the only power, and that God's plan is the only plan. The race thought is still with a belief in insecurity. Awake thou that sleepeth. God is your eternal security of mind, body, and affairs. Let not your heart be troubled, neither be afraid. If you were wide awake to your good, you could not be troubled and fearful. Waking up to the truth that there is no loss, lack, or failure in the kingdom of reality. Loss, lack, and failure would disappear from your life. They come from your own vain imaginings. The following is an example illustrating the working of the law. A number of years ago, when I was in London, I bought a wonderful fountain pen at Asprey's. It was Japanese and was called a namiki pen. It was quite expensive, and they gave me, with it, a guarantee that it would last 30 years. I was very much impressed, because every summer on the 5th of August, they wrote me asking how the pen was getting along. One might have thought I had bought a horse. It was no ordinary pen, and it was very satisfactory. I always carried it with me, and one day I lost it. I immediately commenced denying loss. I said, "There's no loss in divine mind, therefore I cannot lose the namiki pen. It will be restored to me or its equivalent." No shops that I knew of in New York City carried these pens, and London was a long way off, but I was charged with divine confidence. I couldn't lose the namiki pen. One day, going along Fifth Avenue in a bus, my eye caught a sign on a shop for the fraction of a second. It seemed to stand out in the light. It read, Oriental Craft Shop. I'd never heard of it, but I had a strong hunch to go in and ask for a namiki pen. I got off the bus and went into the shop and asked. The saleswoman replied, "Why, yes, we have quite an assortment. They have just been reduced to $2.50. I praised the Lord and gave thanks. I bought 3 and told the above story at one of my meetings. They were soon sold out as people rushed to get them. This was certainly an amazing working of the law, but I was wide awake to my good. I did not let any grass grow under my intuitive lead. The truth the student knows he must prove the principle in his everyday affairs. Acknowledge me in all your ways, and I will direct your paths. Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that believeth on me, the works that I do, he shall do also, and greater works than these shall he do, because I go unto my Father. What a wonderful faith Jesus Christ had in man. He held the vision of the race to come. The man made, the Lord is my light and salvation. Whom shall I fear? Jesus Christ was the greatest of metaphysicians and gave us definite rules for controlling conditions through word and thought. Thou hast made me wiser than mine enemies. First of all, you must be wiser than your enemy thoughts, the army of the aliens. You must answer every negative thought with a word of authority. The army of the aliens will chant, business is dull and money is scarce. Immediately you reply, my supply comes from God and now appears like mushrooms overnight. There are no hard times in the kingdom. You may have to keep this up for quite a while, like the song of the katydids. Katy did, Katy didn't, and so on. Finally you went out, for the truth must prevail, and you have put to flight the army of the aliens. Then, when you are off your guard, the army of the alien begins again. You're not appreciated. You'll never be a success. You answer immediately, God appreciates me, therefore man appreciates me. Nothing can interfere with my divinely designed success. Finally, the army of the aliens is dissolved and dissipated, because you do not give it your attention. You have starved the aliens out. Starve out the fear thoughts by not giving them your attention and acting your faith. The lion draws his fierceness from your fear. His roar is in the tremors of your heart. Stand still like Daniel, and you too shall hear the rush of angels sent to take your part. The mission of Jesus Christ was to wake people up. Awake thou that sleepeth. People were asleep in the Adamic dream of opposites. Lack, loss, failure, sin, sickness, and death seemed realities to them. The story of Adam is that he ate of the tree of illusion and fell into a deep sleep. In this deep sleep, he vainly imagined good and evil. Bernard Shaw, in his book, Back to Methuselah, says, Adam invented murder, birth and death, and all negative conditions. It was a development of the reasoning mind. Of course, Adam stands for generic mind. In the Garden of Eden stage, man functioned only in the superconscious. Whatever he desired or required was always at hand. With the development of the reasoning mind came the fall of man. He reasoned himself into lack, limitations, and failure. He earned his bread by the sweat of the brow instead of being divinely provided for. Jesus Christ's message was to bring people back into the fourth dimension, the Garden of Eden consciousness. In the 14th chapter of John, we find the summing up of all his teachings. He called it the gospel, which means good tidings. With amazing simplicity and directness, he told the people that if they asked, believing, they would receive, attributing the power always to the Father within. God is the giver, man the receiver. This supreme intelligence supplies man with all that he desires or requires. This was certainly a doctrine to wake people up.
Nice.